And welcome to another episode of the Payoff Pitch. This is all about the San Francisco Giants. We're going to be talking about their season. You know, what's the floor, what's the ceiling. We're also going to be talking about the players and their development, specifically for fantasy baseball. And to that end, this show is co-hosted by my friend of over 30 years now, Eric, a.k.a. the Baseball Llama, Eric Zimmerman, my co-author from the Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide. I'm sorry, Fantasy Baseball Almanac and Draft Guide. I should know the title of my own book. It's available on Amazon.com. Show notes below. What makes us better? We're less expensive than the competitors. We give you free in-season advice via promo code inside the book. If you buy that, it's basically the gateway to a full season fantasy baseball consulting and scouting. Eric knows the systems. He knows the farm guys. He knows who's going to be called up, and when these people are called up, who they should grab. You should follow him on Twitter. You should follow me on Twitter, and you should check out that book. Once again, show notes below. But Eric, let's get in to the San Francisco Giants. And I got to say, I mean, this is a team on the downward spiral, right? They won their World Series. They built the World Series. They extended guys. And, this is this is the ruins of that championship run that we went through kind of last decade here. You got a couple of guys, nothing really ranked highly in our guide. You get Samardzija, Pence, Posey, Crawford, Belt, and Yaz is a guy that maybe could show out, but he's more of a, kind of a flyer or watch list kind of guy to see what he does and he progresses. But why don't you just talk about the state of this team right now at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, as powerful as the Dodgers are, that's pretty much at this stage how weak the Giants look.
Yeah.
There's been some questionable decisions by their front office, I'll say, that could have helped this along if they had done it right.
Yeah.
It's always hard to trade a franchise icon, but Baumgartner should have been traded at the deadline. Will Smith should have been traded at the deadline to hold on to them because they won. They went on a little winning streak before the deadline was. It wasn't
not exactly forward
move.
Thinking, right?
It was. I'll give you I'll put it on you here. It was a bit of an Orioles type move.
My poor Orioles. If you can see, if you're watching the hat behind me, my poor Orioles.
No, it was So they've hurt themselves a bit, and they missed the boat on a few things. And there's just I look over this team and short of me being desperate late in the draft for an outfielder, then maybe Yastrzemski. Outside of that, I just don't see anyone that I'm really drafting. Maybe Samardzija or Cueto late if I want to take a flyer.
If you miss on all the catchers, I was digging in fan graphs and looking at some statistics, as Eric. Buster Posey is a guy. We're down on him in our book, so I don't want to throw that out there. But I guess you can make the argument. Is what I'm saying. Devil's advocate. Buster Posey at a weaker catcher position. Maybe he's a guy that you could pick up later in the draft and he could help your team. But yeah, I've had him on my team before. I'm not keeping him in my keeper. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Is there anything on this team that you could think of might be a sleeper potential in terms of a guy up and coming or a guy we should be looking out for? Oh, gosh.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I got to say, this is going about as well as the Pittsburgh Pirates preview, but at least the Pittsburgh Pirates had Bell, right?
Maybe Mauricio Dubon could blow up a little bit, but even at that deep of a second base position,
right?
It'd have to be a big jump. Cueto's a guy who might be able to provide some value late in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
If he can be healthy.
Big if,
but
right?
There's just not until Joey Bart comes up, and once he's called up, I honestly have a feeling that their most valuable offensive contributor this year will be Wilmer Flores, who's going to be kind of a super utility guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll probably be among their most valuable guys. But again, he doesn't have a set position. I don't know that he's going to play every day, so I can't really say draft him either.
Yeah, I hear you.
They're going to struggle a little bit this year, unfortunately. It really just feels like once Bochy left, it just kind of took the wind out of the sails of this team.
Yeah.
It really does. I look it over. Posey's a guy I really wouldn't draft.
Every time I ask you to analyze this team, it sounds like you're taking a Band-Aid off.
It really, yeah. I can't look over this team and say go draft Longoria.
I know, and we don't like we're not people who like to dump on a team, right? We're truly analysts. We don't have we don't really bring bias into this. It's analysis, it's stats. I mentioned Buster Posey is a guy that Fangraphs likes a little bit more than we do, so you can make the argument, but man, there's just, there's nothing there. And, I think sometimes this is the price of the World Series. Not to equate the two, but like the Royals. I mean, we saw the Royals go on their run back when they had Hosmer, who we didn't even talk about when we were talking about the Padres, and I think rightfully so. You had Moustakas. You had all these guys, right? Wade Davis, I think, was back then. And now they're kind of in a rebuild, but they seem to do it and kind of take stock of where they were a little bit quicker than the Giants did. So it'll be a little bit painful, but the good news, it's not all bad. The good news is San Francisco, they've been relevant and they will be relevant again. It's just, this might be the year that they're going to be surfing for the early draft picks. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's actually funny you mentioned the Royals, because that's actually a better comp than the Orioles that I mentioned, because as you said, Hosmer and all these guys like Hosmer, Kane, Moustakas, they could have traded them with a year to go.
Yeah.
They knew they really weren't in a position to compete at that point, or it would have been iffy. Mm-hmm. They could have boosted their farm system. They didn't, and they ended up kind of having to watch them go.
Yeah.
And it hurt their timeline to rebuild. It's the same thing with the Giants here. So yeah, I mean, look, this is a team. They will figure it out. They will bounce back. They'll be competitive.
Hey, they're a big market team. They have a great. I've been to that. I don't know if you have, man, but I've been to that stadium. It's fantastic. Yeah. I love the San Francisco area. So I'm not. We're not trying to harp. So I know that there are probably Giants fans that are ready to tear us a new one right now. But it is what it is. They put this roster together, and like I said, hey, look, as an Orioles fan, right? As an Orioles fan, I would take a World Series or a couple of World Series and. And then another maybe like 2 or 3 years of bad pain, and then make another run at it, which the Giants will do. They'll be back. But unfortunately, their rival Dodgers is they're just a little right, Eric. Their lineup is just a little bit more powerful than the Giants lineup this year. So it is what it is. All right. So ceiling and floor. Floor's obviously in the cellar. Potentially even the worst team in the league. Although I don't know that they're quite there, but they could be. Ceiling. What do you think the ceiling is for this team?
I think the ceiling for them would be pushing 500, and just kind of a second half run that made, where some young guys maybe start to come up and some things start to click, and you start to see a little bit of a future coming for them. Yeah. So I think they could make things interesting at the end of the season. I don't think they're going to make a real run at things. But if they make a couple of smart moves, do a couple of flips at the deadline, they could make things interesting for themselves and their fans. Yeah. And I think 500 it may be a reach, but it's definitely a possibility if things break right for them.
If I'm a Giants fan, I would rather bottom out. Just bottom out.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
But again, to be honest, as the Orioles fan, I have a little bit more tolerance for awful seasons. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've already ripped that Band-Aid off instead of your ooh ah. Every time I ask for something that's funny. Yeah. Okay, so that takes us kind of the end of this preview. Sorry, Giants fans. We like to be as positive as we can, but it is what it is. We got to be honest. We got to be real. Payoff pitch. It concludes the episode. Once again, everybody, Fantasy Baseball Almanac and Draft Guide, although I know we didn't win many friends among Giants fans, but I loved the San Francisco 49ers this year. Hint for the Fantasy Football Almanac. But Fantasy Baseball Almanac and Draft Guide, once again, less expensive. You get more value. It's more up to date. We got bets on the Dodgers. In publication, the other people that publish in like January, they don't do that stuff. So I just think we're a better service. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, and you get the direct line once again into me and Eric. So check out the show notes below for that Amazon link. Eric, you got anything else to say to the crowd there before we head out?
I think I didn't say much to someone going over this team. So no, I think.
Watch another episode and check out the 49ers preview, because I'm still very high on the 49ers.
There you go. San Francisco, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. And hey, man, it's the Giants. It's not like the Orioles where they're going to be in a 30-year rebuild, man. The Giants get things back on track.
You're being kind with 30 years.
Well, the Orioles did have that wild card run 2 years in a row. They made the ALCS once, possibly even twice, but definitely once. So, it's kind of fun, but... Anyway, on that depressing note for me, now I'm as down as the Giants fans are who finished this video out. Hey, everybody out there, once again, please like and subscribe. Please share this video out, but not to Giants fans, because we don't want to get hammered too hard. And, be good to one another. Thanks, everyone. All right. Let's just put it...